Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Hour. My name is Miguel Sanchez. I'm your host. Today, I'm going to talk about how do you start an idea. Today, I've been getting messages since I woke up from different people, which is awesome. It means you guys are watching, you guys are learning. I want to start learning together with everyone. But today I've been getting messages. All right, how do I start? I literally got a message. I woke up, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I had a message from an entrepreneur who hasn't started. So they themselves felt like they weren't an entrepreneur yet. They're like, all right, you know what? I say you motivated me. Let's do it. What do I have to do? So I said, there's a lot there. Right? I just woke up, first of all. I can barely even see your text messages. But I say, you know what, though? You just inspired today's show because, I wake up and I don't really know what I'm going to talk about. So I'm looking for feedback from the audience to tell me what kind of things to talk about because I'll talk about whatever you need. So today I'm going to break down on the globally televised and podcasted Entrepreneur Hour. If you got an idea, where to start, and what I would do if I got an idea today. So like, let's say I come up with $1 billion idea today. This is what I would do. All right. So basically what I would start out doing is there's two terms I want you to like look up, and there's definitely a book I would have you read called The Lean Startup. So the Lean Startup is a great methodology to help you understand the idea better, right? And then there's this role that companies have now called product manager. I think you need to really familiarize yourself with those two terms, the Lean Startup and product management, right? And the Lean Startup is a great book. Check it out. I got a link in the description to give you a free audiobook if you don't already have Audible. But if you do, I highly suggest that book. And I could show you what the Lean Startup goes around. But I'm going to just break down why I say those two things. So I'm going to start out with the Lean Startup, because the Lean Startup, what it does is the old school method of writing a business plan, technology is moving too fast for that. I remember when I first went to take courses about starting a business. Before I started Mass Ideation, I was working with other businesses. We were trying to create different businesses. And one of the groups were like, we should all go take this course. It was called Weibo.org. They still exist. And it was a really good class, actually. And I learned a lot in that class. But the idea behind that class was create your business plan, like your 5-year plan, right? And they made you think about a lot of different things, like what are you actually selling? Who are you selling it to? How much does it cost you? How much are you going to actually profit? How much does it cost you to produce? And then how much do you stay with after you pay everyone? All that stuff that as an entrepreneur you want to get in this game, you really have to understand, because you could be creating something that's making $1 million a year, but spending $1 million a year and making nothing, right? So there's a lot that goes into, once you're really ready to take this path, this journey, there's a lot of learning, and it's fun. It's fun. I love it. And I still learn stuff. I'm very far in and I'm still learning. So it's an awesome ride. I tell anybody who's interested, come along. We need more of you. So what Lean Startup did, though, it's a methodology. I forgot who invented it, but the idea is, instead of making 5-year plans, make a 1-year plan and say, all right, this is what I believe is the problem and I believe is the solution. But don't stick to something for 5 years. It's not going to work. Right? So part of it is you start creating this environment to rapidly prototype your idea. Like I spoke about yesterday about rapid prototyping for like software. But the idea of rapid prototyping your idea is why I say lean startup and product management, because both those worlds, they'll help you to learn how to do that. Right? So if I came up with an idea today, right, and I said, I don't know. I can't think of ideas like that fast. But let's say it was an idea that, I don't know. Whatever. Let's say it was idea X. And I said, okay, I believe these people want this, and I can give it to them, and I can sell it to them for this much, and I can make this much. The next thing I would do right now, because social media is such a powerful, powerful tool, is what I'm doing right now. I would literally get on lives, create some type of environment, podcast, something where I give an audience value around what I'm trying to sell them, right? So if I can't think of any ideas, anybody has an idea that they want to help with. This morning, I had the person that was texting me early. They wanted to coach people around, and if she's around, definitely jump on. But she wanted to coach people on a specific illness. She has a specific illness, and she wanted to help people that have that illness. So she's been reaching out to me about how can I make that a business that actually pays my bills instead of going and working for a company that I don't want to be working for. So that's the coaching business, right? But the coaching business is one of the easiest ones to get feedback from, because coaching is literally talking to people and helping people one-on-one, right? Coaching has a huge market. It makes a ton of money every year. There's a bunch of people that do it. So there's a path for coaching. The problem is, are people interested in what you want to coach them for? So I've gone down this path this COVID time too, and I found I wanted to coach people that had startup ideas, right? And I'm doing it right now, again, from Monday's episode, for free to learn, right? But at the same time, while I was doing that, and of course I do it at MetaBronx too as a nonprofit, so I've been learning for a while, and now I'm starting to see, okay, this is what I think coaching a startup looks like, and then this is what it is, right? So at the beginning, I thought, all right, I can charge people to help them fundraise, right? All right, so how much would I charge them? I don't know. How much time am I going to take? And for coaching, the hourly rate is normally a little bit higher than like a skill set job. So let's just make the math easy. Let's say coaching is $100 an hour. And I say, okay, I want to coach a tech startup. I think it's gonna take me at least 10 hours to work with them before I can really help them raise money. So that's $1,000, right? So if that was the idea right now, I would literally create content like I'm doing right now and start to see where the holes were. Like where in my idea are there holes? And I understand not everybody likes doing this. You don't have to do it in live format like I'm doing it, podcast, all that. You could just text message people. That's what these people are doing to me. I've had like at least 7 people this week text message me, DM me, hey, can we catch up? I have a good idea. I want to know where I start. The big problem I have is that's starting to become to the level where I can't respond to everybody. So I'm like, all right, when people are asking me, I'll create a show. And if they want, they can watch that, because I'll get busy and I won't answer them. And I don't want them to think that I'm not interested in helping them. It's just now my time is becoming like taken, right, by so many different things. So I want to basically figure out how to put something out there that helps them, right? So let's say I'm in the shoes of the coach, right? The coaching mindset. One easy idea, and I've seen this, you've probably seen this too, is creating what they call like a webinar where you would invite people who are interested in what you believe. So let's say if it was me again, I would say, hey, I'm giving a free webinar for people who have startup ideas, right? I'm going to talk to you about what to do from start to finish, what you need to think about, what you need to do. So people are going to come in based on that value, right? They're going to be like, whoa, okay, it's free, and I get to learn what I'm going to need to do from start to finish. And what you would do is, and I may end up doing this, I'm figuring this out for myself as I talk to you, but what you would do is you would give them that information and then ask questions. See where makes sense, where it doesn't make sense. And you see this. I've done it myself just to start seeing how people do it. There's all kind of people doing courses. I was watching this one girl's YouTube. She made a course. She's a coach. She made a course on coaching, and it made $1 million in 10 days. Right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to really study this because I need to understand what she's doing. But the key there is you are product managing and you're using lean startup methodology, which means you're testing it out. You're testing it out, and you're giving it to as many people as possible at first to see what comes back. Because before you go out and create all this craziness, you need to understand what people actually want, right? And if you don't understand what they actually want, you may be wasting your money and your time, right? So that's what I would do. So today, if I came up with this idea of coaching, like the woman who reached out to me this morning, but then I have a cousin who's reaching out to me about a business they're starting too, and his question made me think of something else. His question was more around how to use social media to grow his business. So to me, I'm connecting those dots. Right now, to do a lean startup, you want to try an idea out, test it out to the public, and what's the best way of doing that? Especially right now, doing stuff like this, right? Right now, like I said, every day I'm talking to about 400 or 500 people a day, right? Eventually, it's going to get to 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, right? So once that is going, my 100% plan is all the startups I'm already working with, I'm going to start bringing them in and saying, what do you think? How do you think these companies can do different, better? What do you understand, not understand, right? That's my goal. And I already saw Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. That's what he's doing now. He's on YouTube doing that with his Shark Tank investments. So it's happening, but who's doing it? The people that are the brands. So it takes time to build a brand. Kevin O'Leary, most people didn't even know who he was before he got on Shark Tank. Most people didn't even know who Damon John was before Shark Tank. He had a popular hip hop clothing line, so some people did, but most people didn't. Kevin O'Leary sold a business for $1 billion, and most people didn't know who he was. Then he became famous on Shark Tank from having a show, right? Being on a show. And then that gave him even more opportunity. Now he invests millions of dollars a year, makes millions of dollars on this new thing that came all from putting himself out there. Of course, he was on ABC. It's much different being on ABC than being on YouTube with 1 billion other people. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, podcasting. But podcasting is kind of one of the best ways to break out because there's not as many podcasts as many YouTube channels. So I got to take my own advice and put all this content on podcasting because I'm not moving good enough on that. So what I would do is, what's my idea? Who am I helping? Okay, if I'm going with that startup idea, okay, my idea is I'm going to help startup founders. So I'm going to create content to help startup founders, right? Then when the startup founders start coming in, I offer them my product. Hey, if you want, I have this available to you. And it's something I may actually do, but I don't know when. But it may happen. Right now I have some type of behind the scenes thing going on with that I won't maybe need to do that for a little while. But the idea is, if you have an idea today, 2020, in pandemic, not as many people moving around like used to, I don't really see another option here. I think you're going to have to get used to doing what I'm doing and putting yourself out there and talking to your potential buyer of your product. And you may not have to do it like this. You may want to DM. But actually, I'm going to tell... I don't want to... My dad has an idea too that I've been working with him on. And my dad, he's 62. He's not going to be on video. He's not doing it. But I'm telling him, why don't you DM everybody you know and say, hey, I'm doing this. Do you know anyone that may need this? And see what comes back. So instead of doing it like I'm doing it right now, you could also just DM your whole network and say, hey, I'm starting this business. Do you know anyone who may be interested? Can you please connect me? That's one easy way to do it. It's not as scalable as this, though. I'll be honest. Like, you're just still pushing out the best way possible. So I've been telling people, and the reason why I'm doing this now mostly is because I believe it. And then the second reason is I want to show people from start to much better how it works. Like when I used to get on here, there'd be 0 people. Now there's like 5 live. But then when I look at the end of the day, I got like 500 views across the board, right? So every day I'm getting about 500 views. When I'm live, there's more and more, a little bit ticking up. My hope eventually is people start asking me questions during the lives, more and more and more, right? So I am working my way up slowly but surely based on giving information that I wish I had. Right now, I haven't really figured out how to sell to an audience. I'm not really doing that right now to sell to an audience. I am just trying to give pure value based on the stuff that I thought, man, I really wish somebody would have told me this. So I'm saying, all right, all the things I wish somebody would have told me when it comes to business, entrepreneurship, investing, monetization, innovation, I'm going to create content out there for it. And I'm going to have it there so when people ask me, also frequently asked questions that I get, like today's question about what would you do to start? Okay, I'm ready to start. What would you do? First step, I would figure out what I'm selling and who I'm selling it to, right? That's where the lean startup. And I'm going to show you right now the lean startup methodology chart. So and of course, if you're on a platform that you can't see this, you can watch it somewhere else. So if you're on the podcast or on Instagram Live, you may need to check out YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Twitch. But I'll read it out to you, right? So the lean startup methodology there's a lean startup canvas it's called. Look up the lean startup canvas. Okay, so the way the lean startup canvas works is, all right, I'm sharing my screen. So the way the lean startup canvas starts out is it says problem. List your top 1 to 3 problems, existing alternatives. So this basically means what is the problem you're solving. And if you've heard me before, and if you checked out my angel investor 10 ways to become a better angel investor, all this stuff starts to line up, right? Angel investors and investors, period, they want to see what problem are you solving, because if they think it's a good problem, they'll maybe want to invest. So first place is list top 3 problems. So all right, I'll try with the startup thing. Like I said, this show also helps me figure out my own stuff. So I would say one of the 3 problems startup founders have is not knowing where to start, right? Like sometimes they're just not sure what to do, right? So that's one thing. That's one thing that I could coach them on. The second thing I would say is fundraising, like figuring out, okay, I need money. I can't build this on my own with my own money. How can I get to the point where I can raise funds? And that's where I have a lot of experience with Meta Bronx, where that's where I was always thinking about it. But of course, there's more. And then, all right, so if I had to think of a third thing, building the MVP. Okay, so building the MVP and getting investment sometimes is, connected, sometimes it's not. So I think that's early stage investment. Early stage startups, right? All right, you have an idea, you don't know where to start. You want to build something to prove the idea, then you want to fundraise. Those are my 3 problems for this idea. List alternatives. These are problems. List how these problems are solved today. Right now, there's not that many alternatives. There are some schools. There are some online platforms like Founder Gym. We just had one of our startup founders go through Founder Gym, and he really liked it. There's not that many, though. There's not that many, and that is an opportunity, right? The pro and con I see with the Founder Gym versus a coaching is the one-on-one. Founder Gym deals with a lot of startups, so it's impossible to give one-on-one. But of course, that means it will be cheaper, probably, right? Because if you're in a group, they can offset some of those costs in the group. Instead of one-on-one, you're taking somebody's time one-on-one, so of course that's going to be probably more expensive. But we'll see. All right, so the second thing you want to see is the solution to the problem, right? So what did I just say? I just kind of said the solution. One-on-one help. So like if you came to me with the idea and I said, okay, this is where you should start, I would start here, here, and here. Now you know what to do, right? You didn't know what to do before. Now you know because you're one-on-one coached. Then, okay, now you're ready for your MVP. Here's some options. I would probably choose this one. Now you have a place to go. You're saving time. You're saving time and possibly money, because I've literally seen startup founders blowing money on things that made no sense to be spending money on at first to get them to the goal they're looking to get to. So that's kind of the solution. It says outline a possible solution for each problem. So the first problem I said was, you have an idea, you're not sure what to do. I can one-on-one coach step by step how to do that. And maybe what that means is I create some type of curriculum around how to start, and then how to create your MVP, and then how to talk to investors. Right there, I'm figuring it out right here. This maybe actually end up my course. We'll see. Coursing is one of my revenue streams. We will get there. So, of course, when is it the priority? We'll see. So, okay. Next, it says is key metrics. List the numbers that tell you how your business is doing. So this means you're going to start figuring out what exactly you're going to track to see if your idea is working, right? So if you think about it, let's say I said this coaching thing, and I wanted to try it out for free, or little or less, right? Because it's still going to take my time. What would I track to see that this is working? Maybe there's surveys to see how people are liking what I'm doing for them. Maybe there's timelines that I want to see people hit, and if I can see that people are hitting my timelines, I can tell that I'm pushing them along the path, and I can tell that, okay, I've taken people 70% of the way on average by them taking my course, right? Or my coaching. I don't know. But this is the kind of things you just got to think about. Of course, me doing it in the fly in an hour show is tough, but you could spend time with this. This lean startup canvas is a good document where if you have an idea, you start by putting everything in here and seeing if it makes sense. Just always looking for questions. If there's any questions, I'm going to go to the Facebook to make sure, because sometimes I get questions and I can't see them. The fly on an hour show is tough, but oops. So we're here. Key metrics. So part of the key metric, there's financial metrics, but then the real trick in the beginning is not about how much money you're making, but how you are solving the problem for these people that you want to sell to. The more you can understand that, the more valuable your offer becomes, and then you can charge, But in the beginning, it's really about making sure that whatever you're giving them, you vet it in and out, because you don't want people that have paid you to be like, this was not good. This was not worth it, right? That's a bad reputation that you can get, and then it's hard to recover from. So that's why I say either start out for free or very little, to make sure you're like doing it as best possible. So remember that girl I told you about earlier, that she sold a course and in 10 days she made $1 million. Her first course, I'm pretty sure she did it for free or very little again, and very, very little. And now the course is way up, way more money, and she sold $1 million worth of that course because she figured out all the holes in doing those low cost, and she grew the price. But then she also at the same time was doing what I'm saying. She was creating content on YouTube, Instagram, growing her following. So when she dropped her course, she had a slew of people looking for it and wanted it. So all she had to do was probably sell to like 1% of her audience to make $1 million. That's what I mean. And of course, it's work. I'm not telling you, it took her probably a few years to create that audience. But again, I say this to a lot of entrepreneurs. There's like a Chinese proverb or something. I don't know exactly who said it. But they say the second best time to plant trees is today, right? Meaning the first best time was before, but we don't have that option anymore. So now the second best time is today, right? So start today. Just put yourself out there. Start creating content around whatever you believe you're selling and who you're selling to. When I first started this content journey, I had no clue who I was selling to. I started the content journey because I said, I want to start a fund And I want to eventually do more public speaking, and I want to practice, and I want to talk about what I'm learning in trying to create this fund that helps startups. A year later, the navigation of where I've ended up is crazy. And in a way, I have somewhat started a fund. It's not like the traditional method of starting a fund, but by creating content and talking to many different people, I found a different way that's more realistic for someone like me where I am right now than the old school method of raising $800 million to fund black and brown businesses. It's just, that's really unrealistic for me to do right this second. One day though I will. And it's going to be in the billions. So, but right now, I got to go where I go. But where do I start? The content, right? Because if I grow this channel, if I grow these channels, and I start having millions of followers, millions of people watching, when I'm ready to start this fund, it's very easy to do. But easier, much easier, right? Than not having that, right? So my idea is, okay, let me just keep creating, figuring myself out by hopefully people coming to me with, okay, I have an idea. How can I do this? Right? So right now, the PC, my son is using my show to ask me what the password is. I'm not going to tell you our computer's password on my show. I'll text you as soon as we're done. That's hilarious. I just built him a PC, so he's interested in getting on it. So unique value proposition is the next thing on the lean startup. What are you selling that not I would say, if I'm selling again the startup coaching based off the person who texted me earlier today, I would look at my experience, right? What makes me unique is me, right? Everybody's unique. Every single person is unique. So I have to draw off my experience, right? My experience is I've been into technology since I was 10 years old. I've built many MVPs. I've worked at MetaBronx for 6 years helping companies raise money. 6 years, 4 years, I don't know. I can't even tell anymore. And I've helped companies raise millions of dollars at this point. So I've seen it. And then we just did a partnership with Village Capital where they gave me investor education that most people don't have. And then I've literally been talking to investors for years. And I've been talking to creators of business ideas, technology ideas for years. So I have a unique perspective that most people won't have, especially brown, Hispanic, from the Bronx. It's going to be very, very rare that you find someone that comes from where you come from that has seen the stuff I've seen. So that's my unique value proposition in this idea, right? I would say, well, I have experience with MetaBronx. And MetaBronx is a Village Capital partner. And if you look up Village Capital, you'll see what I mean. That's a huge organization, a venture capital fund that also gives funding and partnership to technology ecosystems like MetaBronx is. And then on top of that, my company Mass Ideation for 10 years has been building products and marketing for agencies, brands, and startups. So I'm in a good position to help anyone make their idea possible. And I have networks with investors because of MetaBronx and because of new things that I'm doing. So that would be my unique, right? My unique proposition. What is yours? Unique value proposition, because it might be, of course, there's going to be someone else selling what you do. Of course. What can you highlight that they can't do that you can do? It is sometimes tougher than others to figure that out. And in certain businesses, that has taken me a long time to figure out. Like for Mass Ideation, for instance. What's my unique? We build things, right? We build stuff. We create creative and technology stuff. But I've still struggled with what is our unique thing. And again, it comes down to me as the person running it. I'm the unique thing only because there's a bunch of people that build that have the same type of company as me. But are they me? Have they worked on what I've worked on? That's where I've used my own personal brand. Again, I didn't do it like this early enough, and I kicked myself for that. But again, I think most of the time, this is definitely 100% the truth for coaching. It's always the answer with coaching. The first unique value proposition is you, right? So you have to basically own that and make sure you're putting yourself out there, because especially as a coach, if you want to be a coach and you don't want to show yourself out there, that's tough. I don't know how you're going to pull that off unless you have a great network. So I'm going really deep in the coaching side, but what if it was another type of idea? It wasn't coaching. It was something like some type of service-based business. Still, it's very similar. All this stuff is very, very similar. Still, what is the problem you're solving as a service? So I'm thinking about it as a coach, and then I'm thinking about it as a service. So mass ideation is a service-based business. So same idea. What's the problem I'm solving? If I have to think about it in that aspect, I would say what we solve for mass ideation is, if I say the 3 problems, is we solve for companies that are trying to do something that they don't have internal teams to do, right? So when a company comes to us, it's because they don't have the skill sets that we are able to use to work with and manage for them, right? So that's one. Second thing is, I would say is the knowledge base, is the history of our knowledge, of my knowledge and what I've done to be able to help them. So that's really how I sell most of my projects. When people talk to me and the way I can talk to them about their problem, that's most of the time how it's sold, because they're like, oh, I really like how you explained that to me. None of the other people we spoke to explained that to me that way. I'd rather work with you. So in a way, right, again, it's me, my personal brand, but that's from a lot of learning, like many times doing it wrong, then starting to learn how to do it right, right? So for me, I'd say first problem I'm solving is they don't have the internal ability, the ability in the company to do what they need. The second thing is a trusted advisor in a way to help make sure, because I've literally spoken to clients for many, many times and told them after, you shouldn't hire my company. You should do this instead. Sometimes they still want to hire me. Most times they take my advice. But in a way, I'm still working on my company brand. And they've always come back like, you know what? You were right about that. It worked out. But now we have this and we definitely can't do this. So can you do it for us? Right? So a trusted advisor, like partner in a way to make sure you're doing the right thing. And I spoke about that earlier. In yesterday's episode, day before, I'm not sure. Where I said the rapid prototyping, right? That client, I took the route that was best for that client, not what was best for my business, right? And now I'm still helping that client, and it may not be best for my business, but I'm learning, they're learning, and I'm treating them how I want to be treated, and they are going to be grateful for it, right? So in a way, that trusted advisor thing is a problem that people don't have. A lot of companies don't have that, where they can say, look, I don't know who to talk to about this, because everybody's going to try to sell me. And when they try to sell me, I don't know. It's kind of like going to the mechanic and they'll be like, yeah, you need all this stuff. And you're like, I guess I do. Like, what am I going to say? There's no way for me to know if I don't. So the same way, I take trusted advisor. So the third, I would say, is the fact that we are a layer between. Of course, any company can go out and find a developer, find a designer, find a whatever. But then they have to know how to manage it and how to make sure they don't get screwed. And that's where, again, we are a problem solver, because a lot of times companies come to us for very different things. So I have to go and find resources that are going to be able to create what the client needs. I don't really, like I said in past episodes, I don't have one thing that we just do. So I can't just hire that person to do that one thing. We do so many different things that at the end of the day, I got to see what comes. But that's me playing defense. What I'm talking to you today about is, if I started today, how I would play offense. And even right now, I am figuring out myself, how should I play offense? And that's me testing a bunch of things. But for you, if you were looking at this lean canvas, I would think about it as how you can put yourself out there as much as possible, talking about what it is you want to help people with. And ask them where are the holes. And I'm doing that myself, but it's not that much for me to sell them, at least right now. Eventually, maybe I will figure out a way to benefit from the content financially. Right now, I am benefiting from the content financially through relationships of people watching. The audience, everybody who watches doesn't need to turn into money for me right this second. But eventually I am going to see if I can figure out how to create something that is of value to everyone. And if it grows and I get 1 million people watching me and I can sell something to 1% of them, why not? Why not do that? That's what that girl does. That's what most people do. But right now I'm lucky enough to be able to make through different revenue streams that don't need this content to be the revenue stream. And then eventually one day the advertising revenue will come too. So right now the idea is just keep doing it and keep answering people's questions. So offense, how do you go on offense? You have to, even if you don't want to put your own face, you have to use social media. I really don't even see an option. I don't see an option for people that want to create an idea to not use social media, right? I can't even imagine how you wouldn't take advantage of literally being able to walk out. It's like if you had a store and you walk outside and it's like 1 million people are walking by and you just need to stand in front of a few. That's what social media does right now. There's no more scalable thing I've ever seen. It hasn't been in the history of the world. So for you not to take advantage of that is crazy. How do you do it though? If you're not interested in putting your face on camera like I'm willing to. But again, I tell everybody. In the beginning, I didn't want to do it either. But I got comfortable. After a year, I got to the I don't care zone. And now I'm in that zone. And I'm going on every day. And like I said, a lot of times I don't even know what I'm talking about. When I'm waking up next day, tomorrow, I have no clue what I'm talking about. I used to do a lot more interviews. The reason I'm not doing interviews, and this is a product management in itself, I'm not doing as many interviews because I don't want to set up a time that I can't commit to. So right now, what I'm trying to do is set up a 3 o'clock time slot and make sure I could commit to it and there's no hurdle that comes along that stops me. Then I'll start scheduling guests because I don't want to schedule a guest and then I can't do it because people block their schedule out for you and then you can't do it. That's annoying. So I want to make sure I can do the 3 o'clock slot, and I have been. There's some time that's coming up soon that I may need to disappear for a week. So that's probably where I take a little break and then come back with guests. But I honestly believe that you need to either figure out, is it going to be you? Is it going to be someone else? Or maybe you create content in a different way where it doesn't show your face if you're that afraid of it. But I'm telling you, look around. There's people that look better, look worse doing it. Don't worry about how you look, how you sound. Every single person that does this hates how they look, hates how they sound, no matter how they look and how they sound. You can see the most beautiful people and they feel the same way. It's just normal. So you will get to the point where you just are okay with yourself being out there. You will get there. Trust me. Look at I don't want to say it, but you probably know who I'm talking about. So the idea, there's people watching, and this is forever. My son wants me to give him the password. I'm not giving you the password. I'll text you right after. And you probably know the password. It's the same password. So hilarious. My son watches just to ask me questions for something he needs. But so if you are, and you know what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day. If you look at that Tiger King thing on Netflix, right? That guy blew up through YouTube. He had a YouTube show that he created, and that's how he grew. And then, of course, over time, whatever happened. But I was thinking, even that guy used social media to explode his business. And it was just funny to me. But, like, right now, I'm thinking, like, there's no better way. There's no better way. If you have an idea and you can test it on people, where are you going to find the most people? So right now you got an idea. Today I told you I came up with 2 kind of scenarios. The coaching idea based on somebody who came to me this morning with coaching. And then I came up with the service-based business based on my history with a service-based business. If I was starting today, what would I do? In the coaching side, I would be starting to create videos asking people based on what I believe I can coach them on, what problems they have in that. And then on the service-based business, I would find the same exact thing. I would say, okay, let's say right now Mass Ideation wants to be a website company, an app company, whatever. I would create questions and value around making apps and websites, right? And then people are on there looking, and it's like, oh, you know what? Let me just hire Miguel and Mass Ideation because I like how they talk about it, whatever. And that literally, I've seen people with hardware stores that create videos and they get a lot of business for that. I've seen eye doctors. There's an eye doctor. Think about this. An eye doctor giving you eye health tips. I think his name is like Dr. Eye Health on YouTube. I'll look it up. He gives you just free advice on your eyes. What happened to his business? He was not even the owner of his business at first. I think he is now, but I'm not even sure for sure. He was not the owner of his business. He started making these free videos. The company he was working at got so many patients, they had to start creating a waiting list because all the people coming from the YouTube, there were people traveling cross country to see him over an eye doctor that was local because he put himself out there. He started talking to his audience on YouTube about the problem they have. Then when it was time for them to do something about it, they went to him. And now the guy, I don't even know where he is now. I think he has like 1 million followers. I think he created his own practice now. Of course, because he created the solution. He created his own funnel for business. And he's making money on ads too, I think. It's crazy. So, again, it comes down to a lot of the same things. If you watch my content, it comes down to a lot of the same things. If you're uncomfortable with something, put yourself in the shoes to get comfortable because you need to get comfortable. Sales, content creation, putting yourself out there, selling in a way that's different, right? Right now, I'm not selling like, hey, my name is Miguel Sanchez, hire Mass Ideation. I'm not doing that. Or, hey, my name is Miguel Sanchez, donate to MetaBronx. I'm not doing that. I'm giving you value, and then you may see what I do, and it may connect with something you do, and you like, and then you may help. You may want to work with me. 99.9% of the people watching this are not going to make money. I'm not going to make money with you or make money from you. But you're going to get some type of value that you take and hopefully helps you. That's my goal with it, right? And if I get the numbers high enough, which already I am a little bit at the point where it's too much, I can't imagine what's going to happen when it's like millions of people watching, if it ever gets there, right? But when I think about this in a nutshell of what exactly we have to do in 2020, understanding that things are different. This pandemic is not over. Some people are saying we're in the third phase of it. A lot of people saying we're in the first still. So we don't know what's going to happen. We're not sure how much you're going to be able to go out there. Also, there's an impending economic collapse that everybody's talking about. Everybody knows it's coming. So what are you doing? Like if you are just relying on one thing, one revenue stream, one stream of income, that is scary. You need to try trying a side hustle, try something. So where would I try? And I know most people are not going to do this. But I think as long as you do something, maybe you just start posting videos that are not you, images that are not you, that help your audience, the people you're trying to help, and then you try to sell them. So I can think of people like, let's say you're making cakes. You're doing some special cakes. Make content around birthdays, right? And then people find you and they realize, oh, you make some awesome birthday cakes. I'm going to hire you to make my birthday cake, right? Like, that's how you got to think about it. What is the type of person and what's the interest you need to make sure they have? You draw those people in, and then eventually they will convert into sales. And what's the best way to do that is what I'm doing right now, this content game, right? The creation of content, podcasting, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. All these things are just opportunities for eyes, right? But what exactly you need to do? Let's go back to the the Lean Startup Canvas. So okay, we got to unique value proposition, and again, I'm gonna try to do it for both a coaching role, a coaching business, and like a service-based business. All right, so unfair advantage. So what is my unfair advantage? All right, something that cannot be bought or copied. All right, in coaching, again, I come back to my experience, right? Like there's nobody that could gone through the exact same stuff I've gone through. Literally impossible, right? So I would have to highlight the exact things I went through, because if you saw anybody else and you saw what I went through versus them, you're going to choose one of us based on that, right? So that's on the coaching side. If on the service-based business side, this is why I started to really look at further bleeding edge technology. When I did mass ideation, I was thinking, how can I do stuff that most people can't do? So I said, I got to get to that edge, to the bleeding edge, and start playing around, because what will happen is companies will come asking for this, and most of the world is going to be like, whoa, I've never even touched that. But then people are going to start saying, oh yeah, those guys do it. And I did that for a while, augmented reality. And I still do augmented reality, not as much as I used to in the beginning, but it's definitely on the radar of what's coming back. But that's what I did as mass ideation. I said, okay, let me get out in the forefront of whatever technology I believe is going to come along and be popular, and get as much experience in there as possible, so nobody can buy that experience, right? They can't just have 10 years of working in augmented reality if they just started today, right? So that was one idea I had of an unfair advantage I tried to create for myself. And again, it comes back to the personal brand, and unfair advantage is me again. I've had the experience of designing, coding, animating stuff for a long period of time. So if you're working with a business that the salesperson is not able to talk in the same way I am, that's an unfair advantage. But that's not a scalable unfair advantage, because I can't be the one to talk to everyone to sell. Here I can, though. Doing it here, I am. I'm taking advantage of my unfair advantage. I'm talking to people so they see that I know what I'm talking about. And right now I'm talking to about 500 people a day, right? And eventually it's going to be 1,000, 10,000, a million, right? So right now that is kind of what I'm doing. Channels. List your path to customers, inbound and outbound. See? Channels. What have we been talking about? Right now, you can't really go outside. You can't go and show up to people's offices and talk to them. That stuff is not happening anymore. What is a channel? Of course, emailing, cold calling, emailing is still very viable. Social media, this is the most easy passive way to sell I've ever seen. Literally, if I told you, I used to have to call around 3 hours a day to business develop, meaning sell. For mass ideation, I would reach out to people, talk to people, catch up, 3 hours a day. Now I do an hour a day show, and people come to me, inbound. Outbound is, hey, right? How you been? Or, oh, my name is Miguel Sanchez from Mass Ideation. Do you need help with your whatever? Right? That's outbound. Inbound is people coming to you, right? So social media creates this abundance of inbound that you cannot recreate in any other way right now. So I would tell you if I told you the channels for coaching, I would tell you social media, of course, inbound. How would I do inbound for coaching? I guess webinars are big for coaches. Sign up forms, like kind of what they call landing pages, right? So you create landing pages and people land there. They're probably interested. They answer a few questions, and then they go into the product, right? They go into oops, sorry, my bad. Phone call at the office. So I don't know if I hung up on somebody though. Sorry, whoever that was. So The idea of creating landing pages that you draw traffic to, you could do that through advertising as well, right? You could spend money on Facebook, on Twitter, on wherever you think is the most people of your the type of people you're trying to reach, right? So there's that. That's inbound. Outbound is, before it was much easier to go to events and meet people. I would tell you now, join any Zoom kind of events that are going on to see how you can meet people. It's really tough. Right now, it's really tough to business develop in the old way. That's part of why I'm creating this. I don't know if in the next year or ever again it will be as easy. I don't know that. Like I was watching something this morning that the guy was saying, how many people are going to be like, you know what? I'd rather not go to that event. I'd rather just see it on the Zoom or on the live YouTube or whatever. Or, you know what? I was supposed to go to LA to meet this client, and then I was going to go to this meetup. I can do that meetup online, and I could talk to that client on Zoom. This is going to start to lower the amount of one-on-one possibility of interaction that we have with people. So you're going to have to, in this day and age, if you want to create a business that's going to work, you're going to have to get comfortable with social media. I don't see a way around it. I really don't. So if I want to just finish out the lean canvas. Customer segments. So this is the whole persona thing, right? So you got to think of 3 types of people that are going to buy from you. So if I thought about coaching, I say startup founders, investors that want their investments to do better, and funds. Well, I guess same thing. Well, they could be angel investors and funds, right? So I've taken the approach of looking for angel networks and funds to possibly pay for the coaching of startups, right? And then also my nonprofit. My nonprofit does it by raising funds from grants and stuff so we can help startups and kids, right, become experienced. So there's that, and then there's that's for coaching, and now for startup businesses, for mass ideation service-based businesses, the customer segments I would say was project managers at companies. So a lot of times, like, a company will come up with an idea and they have a project manager, and they give that project manager the role to find the vendor that can help them. Account managers, project managers, directors of marketing was mostly where I would get that. A second segment is company owners, because company owners, sometimes they don't have those layers of people. They are the one that needs to figure it out. So they reach out to me. And then I would say owners, project managers. That's I guess directors of marketing is different than project managers. Marketing directors. So I'll say marketing directors, project managers, and company owners. Those are my 3 segments for my service-based business. So you got to think about that. Now, how do you target those 3 segments, right? Let's say you targeted, I told you 6 right now. I told you investors. So I need to figure out where investors are. Maybe if investors were my number one way, or maybe I created content around targeting investors, targeting founders, targeting fund managers. I don't know, right? Then on the business side of services, maybe I do content around helping project managers, content around helping directors of marketing, content around helping founders of companies. Draw them in, and then get some type of way of closing that deal, making sure they understand what you can provide for them. So at the end of the day, right now, if you look at this lean startup, then the last 2 things are cost structure and revenue streams. Those are 2, of course, huge things. And you see why they're at the bottom, because you got to figure out all this stuff before you can figure out what's the value of what you're giving them and how much it costs, and then how to get multiple revenue streams around it. The cool thing about this thing, though, this business, this lean startup canvas, is none of this stuff is like 5-year, 10-year plan. This stuff, you can change it on the fly. You can keep changing it every 6 months after you see, and you're like, you know what? I was wrong about the channels. I got to add another channel here. You know what? I was wrong about the customer segment. Let me change that. But instead of having this growth, this plan of growth that's like set in stone, this is an easier way to start picking apart where it's failing, right? So that's where the lean startup versus the old business plan model is so good. You can create a business in a day that you test on social media and start to see where the holes are and change them, rapidly prototype your business idea, right? Then you get to the point where you figure it out, you figure out your cost structure, and you have an audience to sell them, right? And that's what I've seen. I've seen this work with many people. I'm trying to do it myself. Of course, it hasn't been long for me, but and of course, I'm doing a lot of different things. So I am doing it for many different things based on my ideal revenue streams, right? Courses, coaching is one of my ideal revenue streams, but I have put it on the back burner for other things. I will get back to it. And this episode is just the start of me actually thinking it through. And I have been having little one-on-one sessions with a friend of mine. We're going to start recording those too about it. I haven't really dove in and started trying it yet, but it's on the way. It's going to happen, no doubt about it. And I definitely thank anyone who watched. Of course, if you watched this show and you have asked me a question in the last week, thank you. If you watch, please like it wherever you at. Subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the Twitch, subscribe to the Facebook fan page. Subscribe to the podcast, which I'm going to put out this week. Putting out the podcast with a bunch of episodes. So thank you so much for watching the Entrepreneur Hour. And I really, really hope I'm helping people with this content. And I really want you to take away what I always say at the end of every episode. Innovate every day, right? So part of what I'm doing today, I'm innovating, right? I'm thinking for my own ideas through the lean startup methodology, and I'm also creating content around it. So in those ways, I'm innovating today. Just by creating a show every day, I'm innovating. So what is your thing every day that you're innovating? And you don't got to tell me. I mean, I would love to hear it, but I just think you need to be thinking about that, especially now. It's going to be a crazy time soon. I'm really trying to get as many people ready, put people in as good a position as possible when this thing hits. So please take advantage. Thank you so much.